The galaxy teems with horrors that make rancors look like tookas, leviathans lurking in oceans, voids and deserts, each a monument to evolution's questionable creativity. From trash-compactor squids to planet-sized parasites, these beasts defy scale, sanity, and the Geneva Conventions, if they existed in space. But which titan truly reigns supreme? Strap in as we count down the 10 largest, deadliest, and most embarrassingly ignored threats in Star Wars history. Spoiler: size isn't everything, unless you're a Sarlacc with a nap complex. What do you think happens when a creature's diet includes star destroyers? In the silent underbelly of the Death Star, an 8-limbed horror lurks. A creature born of swamp and scavenger science, whose opportunistic hunger nearly swallowed the galaxy's heroes. Far from the glittering core worlds, beyond the reach of Republic peacekeepers and Imperial enforcers, lies Vodran, a world of endless, choking swamps and acidic waters that burn like liquid fire. Here, the air hangs heavy with mist and decay, and the ground is a quagmire of rot and ruin. This is the birthplace of the Dianoga, a creature as mysterious as it is terrifying, a living testament to survival in the galaxy's forgotten places. The Dianoga is no ordinary beast. Imagine a cephalopod, but one evolved to thrive in the most hostile of environments. 7 long, muscular tentacles, each lined with powerful suckers capable of crushing bone or steel, ripple silently beneath a slick, deep purple skin that shifts colors, grey, black, even near invisible, allowing it to vanish into the toxic sludge that is its home. From the murky depths, a single eye stalk rises like a sentinel, bristling with photoreceptors that pierce the gloom, ever watchful for movement and life. Vodran's acidic runoff is so potent, it can dissolve starship hulls and melt durasteel plating. Yet, the Dianoga's gill membranes filter these poisons with ease, allowing it to swim where nothing else dares. Its jagged beak, lined with razor-sharp teeth, can shred carrion or crush mechanical scrap, earning it the unflattering nickname trash squid among Imperial engineers who would one day discover its presence far from home. The Dianoga's blood is a vivid blue, coursing through multiple hearts that pump resilience and strength. It can regenerate lost limbs, a slow but relentless process that hints at a primitive sensitivity to the force of faint shimmer in the currents of life, that allows some Dianoga to twitch perceptively when living beings approach. When the Empire began mining Vodran's toxic acids for industrial solvents, they inadvertently became carriers of this creature. Larvae and eggs stowed away in contaminated water tanks and fuel reserves, hitching rides aboard Imperial transports bound for the Death Star. There, in the station's labyrinthine plumbing and waste systems, one juvenile Dianoga found refuge in compactor 3263827, a garbage compactor filled with decaying refuse and hydraulic leaks, a perfect breeding ground. Within the Death Star's bowels, the Dianoga flourished. The creature's metabolism was supercharged by a strange, accidental phenomenon Imperial engineers would later term organofluidic resonance, a biofeedback amplification between organic tissue and machine fluids. This process, unknown to the Empire, fueled the Dianoga's rapid growth. From a small scavenger, it quickly became a leviathan, its tentacles probing through service hatches, siphoning hydraulic fluid to accelerate its hunger. Imperial technicians noticed strange system surges and unexpected fluid losses, but dismissed them as minor malfunctions. No one suspected that a sentient predator lurked in the sludge, waiting patiently for the unwary. Its eye stalk, capable of piercing the darkest effluent, gave it a terrifying advantage, allowing it to ambush repair crews and small droids alike. The Dianoga's flaw was its insatiable gluttony, a hunger so overwhelming It blinded it to danger. This flaw would seal its fate during the rebel strike on Yavin 4. After sabotaging the Death Star's turbo laser turrets, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, and Chewbacca fled through the station's service corridors, unknowingly steering toward the compactor's maw. The walls groaned as the crusher plates began to close, and contaminated effluent flooded the chamber, turning it into a lethal vat of acidic slime. Luke's voice cut through the murk, a mixture of fear and urgency. "There's something alive in here." The Dianoga struck, its tentacles lashing out. It clamped onto Luke's boot, its jagged beak tearing through rubber and wood. Leia barely dodged its snapping beak, while Han's blaster cracked the creature's eye stalk, spraying acidic ichor in a sizzling cloud. Blinded, the Dianoga thrashed wildly, exposing its vulnerable body. Chewbacca's powerful strikes and Han's precise shots brought the beast down, collapsing its carapace with a final, echoing crack. This encounter revealed the Dianoga's fatal flaw. Its gluttonous appetite led it into a trap of its own making. Drawn by vibrations and scent, it overextended into the crushing chamber, exposing the very eye that guided its deadly ambush. Its downfall was a cautionary tale of ambition, outpacing caution. The Empire swept the incident under the rug, labeling it a trash-compactor malfunction. But whispers spread among the Death Star's crew. Posters in maintenance bays warned, "Don't cling like a Dianoga," a grim reminder not to linger too long in floodlit tunnels. The Dianoga's story did not end with its death. On Vodran, surviving larvae regrew in the swamp's biofilm, some reaching colossal sizes. Reports surfaced from Outer Rim scrapyards and derelict starships, where scavengers told tales of the trash squid lurking in flooded hulls. Clone Force 99's wrecker narrowly escaped such a fate on Braca, where a Dianoga pup nearly dragged him into the dark. Imperial engineers, chastened by the incident, mandated biological sweeps of fluid transfer systems on all star bases. Plumbing blueprints were revised to include mesh filters rated for tentacular intrusion. Compactor hatches gained secondary blowout panels to prevent entrapment. The phrase biofeedback amplification entered the engineering lexicon as a warning against unintended organism-machine symbiosis. Scavenger crews on resource rigs deployed sonar net barriers to detect large cephalopods before they breached pumping chambers. Hydroponic farms monitored pH and particulate levels to spot acidic anomalies indicative of Dianoga presence. These precautions became standard across the galaxy, a testament to the Dianoga's enduring influence. Culturally, the Dianoga became a symbol of nature's defiance beneath the Empire's polished veneer. Imperial chefs experimented with Dianoga meat, creating Dianoga pie, a dubious delicacy at Nar Shadar's Meltdown Cafe, though second helpings were rarely recommended. Scavenger species across the Outer Rim evolved defensive armor plating mimicking Dianoga suckers. A fascinating example of evolutionary mimicry designed to deter subterranean predators in junk-strewn habitats. Philosophically, the Dianoga intrigued Jedi scholars on Ossus. Its primitive force sensitivity sparked debates about the universality of the Force, whether its shimmer touched all life, even creatures born of sludge and filth. The Dianoga became a parable about the pervasiveness of life's energy, a reminder that the Force flows through the smallest and the most grotesque alike. For Luke Skywalker, the compactor encounter was a lesson in humility and caution. The Force, he learned, could be both guide and blindfold. Han Solo later joked that nothing tested his nerves like a 10-meter squid in ankle-deep sludge, more so than any Imperial entanglement. Leia used the tale to teach new recruits about lateral thinking under pressure. In cantinas from Tatooine to Coruscant, Dianoga masks and statuettes became dark trophies, mementos of nature's stubborn defiance beneath steel and polish. Outer Rim poets composed verses warning travelers. Beneath your boots, the hollow echoes, in sludge and steel, a hunger grows. But sewage monsters are just appetizers in the galaxy's menagerie of terrors. Beyond the sludge and steel, in the bone-dry deserts of Tatooine, a far older hunger waits beneath the sand. Dianogas are large cephalopods, capable of growing up to 10 meters in length, though most specimens range between 5 and 6 meters. Their 7 suckered tentacles and single eye stalk give them a distinctive silhouette, while their multiple hearts and regenerative abilities make them formidable survivors in hostile environments. Originally from Vodran, Dianogas inhabit dense jungles and brutal swamps, where acidic waters and toxic mists challenge even the hardiest creatures. Their ability to thrive in such conditions is a marvel of evolutionary adaptation, combining physical resilience with a mysterious sensitivity to the Force. The Dianoga's presence aboard the Death Star was no accident. Imperial engineers deliberately placed them in trash compactors to consume organic waste and reduce vermin populations. However, the unintended consequence was a predator that could threaten even the station's most elite occupants. Nady Okorafor's short story, The Baptists, from the anthology Star Wars, from a certain point of view, gives a poignant life to one such Dianoga named Omi. Captured from Vodran and brought to the Death Star, Omi's story reveals a creature capable of feeling and even sensing the Force, adding depth to what might otherwise be dismissed as a mere monster. As Luke Skywalker warned in the compactor, "There's something alive in here," a chilling reminder that beneath the galaxy's gleaming surfaces lurk dangers both seen and unseen. The Dianoga's pitiful yet deadly existence echoes the fate of the rancor in Jabba's palace and the Zillo beast beneath Coruscant monsters born of environment and circumstance, undone by their own nature and the resolve of those who face them. The galaxy's terrors do not end in sludge or stone. Across desert dunes and frozen wastes, ancient predators stir, their shadows stretching long and dark. The tale of the Dianoga is but a ripple in the vast ocean of legends, where every monster's hunger tells a story of survival, peril, and the eternal dance between light and shadow. Deep within Jabba's bone-littered pit, a hulking terror waits, its roar a promise of ruin for any who dare descend. Loyalty, once its greatest strength, would become its undoing. Long before the rancor's thunderous roar echoed through the stone halls of Jabba's palace, its story began in the shadowed swamps of Dathomir, a world steeped in dark energies and ancient mysteries. Dathomir is a place where the very air hums with the whispers of the dark side, where twisted predators lurk beneath tangled canopies, and where the Night Sisters wield their sorcery amidst the gnarled roots and mist. Legends tell of the first rancor hatchling slipping from a shattered crypt, its birth shrouded in arcane rites and bloodied talismans etched with runes of power. Its mother, a fierce guardian of the swamp's secrets, perished clutching those talismans as the infant beast slithered into murky waters, growing amid corrupted spirits and restless shadows of the night. This early rancor was unlike any creature seen before. Its mottled grey-green scales bristled with ridges like ancient armor, and its stubby tail, thick as a log, lashed with terrifying force. Born in a land where dark side energies twisted life into nightmares, the rancor was both predator and prisoner of its cursed home. When a Hutt slaver ventured into those mists, he returned, dragging chains behind him, and leading what looked like a small, horned lizard. But time and hunger transformed that creature. It grew beyond shackles and whims, becoming the first rancor to see sunlight beyond the swamp canopy. By the time it reached the harsh deserts of Tatooine, this beast matched the height of a speeder bike, its jaws filled with jagged teeth, forged to crush bone and steel alike. Jabba Deselegic Tuore, the crime lord of Mos Eisley, claimed it as both curiosity and weapon. He named it simply Rancor and installed it in the palace's undercroft, a pit of bones and shadows where the creature's endless appetite became both spectacle and terror. The Rancor was a terror born of swamp and sorcery, but beneath its feral nature lay a surprising thread of loyalty. It learned to recognize Jabba's voice, responding to guttural commands that could still its savage hunts or coax it back into slumber. This bond of obedience was forged in fear and familiarity, a dark equilibrium between master and monster. The pit itself was a museum of carnage, cracked exoskeletons of dewbacks, shattered helmets of fallen guards, piles of broken gadgets, each a trophy feeding both creature and legend. Salacious Crumb, Jabba's cackling court jester, revelled in the Rancor's unpredictability, feeding it dancers, gamblers, even the occasional prize fighter. None survived. The Rancor crushed skeletons as easily as eggshells, its massive arms swinging aside crumbling pillars, its thick tail splintering wooden barricades meant to contain it. Yet this hulking beast's greatest strength, its blind loyalty, would become its undoing. When Luke Skywalker descended into that maw of darkness, lightsaber in hand and defiance in heart, the Rancor rose with a guttural roar that shook the palace's stone foundations. It became a living avalanche, unstoppable and unthinking, born of endless hunger and obedience. But the Rancor did not attack with cunning malice. Conditioned by Jabba's subtle cues, visual signals, auditory commands, even the faint vibrations of his footfalls, it struck with single-minded faith in its master's will. When Leia Organa, fierce and quick, slung Jabba's chain to knock him backward, the pit trembled. The beast's roar shifted to bewildered snarls. It sought the voice that gave it purpose, but found only shifting dust and screams. Luke seized that moment. Moving with the calm precision of a Jedi, he feinted near the beast's blind flank, testing its reactions. "Your reign ends here," he whispered, a calm before the storm. Each clash of lightsaber against armored hide taught the Rancor nothing of escape. It struck as it always had, toward the source of command. When it reared to deliver its killing blow, Luke vaulted atop its spine, pressing close where plates thinned. The Rancor's breath fanned his robe, hot and fetid. In that heartbeat, Luke drove his blade upward, severing sinew and armor in one swift motion. The beast faltered, then with a final heave, hurled the discarded weapon aside and lunged toward the pit's massive gate, its last hope of salvation. The gate, long weakened by corrosive swamp gases and tremors from distant legends of Dianoga-fueled compactor myths, a whispered callback to chains and sludge, gave way under the Rancor's weight. It crashed down, trapping the beast's bulk above and sealing it from the cell below. Dust and bone showered the chamber as the creature collapsed, a final strangled echo fading into darkness. In its fall, the Rancor embodied tragic poetry, an apex predator, flawless in strength, yet undone by its own fealty. Its might shattered pillars, its loyalty collapsed gates. Jabba's boast of invincibility echoed hollow in the silent pit, where cartilage and claw lay stilled. After the Rancor's death, whispers haunted cantinas across the outer rim. Jabba's palace lost its greatest spectacle, and bounty hunters exchanged hushed tales of the petulant toddler with claws. The pit, once echoing roars, fell silent, its bones left to bleach beneath desert stars. Gamorrean guards spoke of nightmares where they awoke beneath scaling teeth, and travelers bore cautionary charms carved in the shape of the beast's skull. In the criminal underworld, the tale became a macabre symbol of misplaced trust. "Never bind what you cannot control," muttered smugglers in Mos Eisley's back alleys, invoking the rancor's fate as both warning and myth. Creature pit designers studied its anatomy for decades, reinforcing cells with collapsible gates and emergency lever systems to prevent identical calamities. Clankers on Kuat dissected rancor dermal plates, seeking regenerative tissues to enhance clone trooper armor, though none matched the creature's uncanny resilience. On Coruscant, Imperial zoologists catalogued the rancor as a case study in parasitic obedience. Journals debated whether its blind loyalty stemmed from subjugation by dark energies or a mutated neural architecture shaped in Dathomir's cursed marshes. Philosophers at the Jedi Temple referenced the beast in treatises on the Force. Even the fiercest warrior falls when he serves another's will without question. Meanwhile, storytellers in dive bars recounted Luke's defiance beneath swinging chandeliers of bone. Salacious Crumb's cackling silhouette remains entwined with the rancor's memory, a reminder that cruelty begets spectacle, and that amusement often conceals tragedy. In Holonet archives, the beast's final roars replay alongside Leia's defiant glare, preserving a moment when brutality met justice with the pull of a single lever. Poets of the Outer Rim penned verses drifting across hyperspace lanes. Beneath the Sarlacc's bow and rancor's snare lies loyalty's price in the choking air. The rancor's legend endures as a lesson in power and obedience. That might be untempered by wisdom corrodes from within. Its bones, still interred in a hidden chamber beneath Mos Eisley, serve as silent guardians' monuments to a creature both magnificent and tragic. The rancor's pit gate, weakened by corrosive swamp gases and tremors, echoes the Dianoga's own watery haunt in the Death Star's sludge-filled compactor, reminding us that even the mightiest beasts and machines share vulnerabilities born of neglect. Rancors are massive, semi-sentient reptilian carnivores native to Dathomir, where they serve as apex predators. Their brown-blue tinted skin is thick enough to shrug off blaster bolts, and their large jaws filled with sharp, triangular teeth are designed to grip and rend prey. Standing between 13.9 and 16.5 tall, rancors possess long arms and powerful limbs that allow them to crush and tear with devastating force. The species exhibits a social hierarchy in the wild, with dominance maintained through combat and survival. While Jabba's rancor was a juvenile and malnourished specimen, wild rancors grow to even greater dimensions and display more intelligence, especially those domesticated by the Night Sisters of Dathomir, who use them as mounts and guardians. There is speculation that rancors may have been artificially enhanced or bred through dark side sorcery, as Emperor Palpatine kept vicious, chrysalis beasts on his citadel, creatures possibly related to rancors. This connection to Sith experimentation adds an eerie layer to their origin, blending natural evolution with arcane manipulation. The rancor's role as a weapon and spectacle in Jabba's palace reflects the exploitation of monstrous power for control and fear. Its loyalty to Jabba was born not of affection but of conditioning, a tragic bond that ultimately led to its downfall when that loyalty was severed. As the Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi once reflected during the arena battle, patience and skill overcome even the mightiest brute. This encapsulates the lesson that raw strength alone is no match for discipline and strategy. The rancors' pit gate collapse echoes the fate of the Zillo beast beneath Coruscant's surface. Both titans, undone by structural failure and the consequences of unchecked power. These parallels remind us that even the largest forces can be contained by the smallest cracks. Not all giants perish in pits or arenas. Across the galaxy's shadowed depths and alien worlds, other titans stir, each with their own flaws, legends, and destinies yet to unfold. The saga of the Rancor is but one chapter in the endless tale of power, loyalty, and the price of control. In Geonosis's blood-sand arena, a horned juggernaut awakens, Reek's singular purpose to shred all who dare draw breath. Long before Reek thundered into the Petranaki arena, it was but a concept, a blueprint etched in the spore-etched journals of Geonosian bioarchitects. On Geonosis, a world of jagged spires piercing copper skies and endless red sands, the insectile artisans and Deathwatch droids honed the art of living weapons. Here, biology and technology fused in subterranean foundries, spawning creatures designed for war and spectacle alike. Poggle the Lesser, mastermind of the separatist armada, commissioned a beast unlike any other, a creature bred to shatter the Republic's pride and crush Jedi valor. From marrow to mandible, Reek was born of selective breeding, dark alchemy, and relentless refinement. Its sinews were honed for violence, its mottled ochre and rust carapace thicker than any Nexu's hide. Two massive horns curved skyward like bludgeoning sabers, while rows of serrated teeth promised a maw eager to rend flesh from bone. In its youth, Reek feasted on bioengineered, prey lab-raised beasts coded for ferocity. Each encounter taught it how to crush, gore, and dominate. Unlike the nimble Acklay or the stalking Nexu, Reek charged with the relentless force of tectonic plates colliding. Its roar echoed through Geonosis's cavernous foundries, vibrating loose sediment and unsettling test subjects. Technicians whispered that no chain or cage could hold such a force. When the grand arena was constructed above, the Separatists knew exactly which terror to unleash first against Jedi valor. Reek was not merely a spectacle. It was a weaponized nightmare, designed to crush bodies and morale alike. As spores of Geonosian fungi drifted through the air, Reek matured, every nerve alight, every muscle coiled like a spring eager to snap. The arena gates screeched open, and the sands of Geonosis tasted new terror. Obi-Wan Kenobi stepped into the pit, his lightsaber gleaming cerulean beneath the copper sun. Behind him, Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala watched with grim anticipation. But all eyes fell upon the heaving mass of horn and claw Reek, the biomechanical battering ram. Its first charge was seismic. The ground trembled as Reek bore down on Obi-Wan, scattering clone troopers like debris before a storm surge. Each swipe of its curved horns carved furrows in the sand, each snarl laser etched into the minds of onlookers. Obi-Wan's agility was his salvation, vaulting high to evade crushing blows. Yet one misstep, one momentary lapse, and Reek's horn would have bisected him like brittle wood. Reek's flaw was its one-track mind. Unlike the Acklay which circled and assessed, Reek plunged headlong into battle, eyes blind to strategy. When Anakin hurled himself into the fray to aid his master, Reek shifted targets in a heartbeat, charging the young Padawan's path. But Anakin, hungrier than the beast for glory, and guided by the Force's instinctual whispers, sliced into its knee joint. Wounded, Reek faltered, giving Obi-Wan the breathing space to ignite his lightsaber beneath its neck. Flames licked at chitinous plates, but Reek's fury surged anew. Blood-red ichor sprayed like confetti as the beast thrashed, bringing down scaffolding and sending clone troopers scrambling for cover. Its desperation proved as dangerous as its strength. In the chaotic crescendo, Reek toppled a support beam. Explosions rippled through the arena as thermal detonators set by separatist saboteurs met the collapsing structure. Amid smoke and ruin, Reek's roaring silhouette shimmered. Victor, victim, and spectacle all at once. But the blast cracked its carapace, and just as it seemed unstoppable, Reek collapsed, pins of debris trapping its massive form. When the dust settled, only echoes remained. Veteran engineers swore they heard Reek's final exhalation, an earth-shuddering groan of defeat. For all its creation as a weapon of supremacy, Reek succumbed to its own recklessness. Its rise was meteoric, its fall monumental. Reek's ruin echoed beyond the arena, rippling through the galaxy's political and cultural spheres. For the Republic, it was proof that no beast, however engineered, could overcome Jedi resolve. Holonet broadcasts immortalized the encounter, inspiring holodramas and cautionary tales alike. Reek became the ultimate example of hubris meeting its match. On Coruscant, Senate delegates debated tightening regulations on bioweapon research. Senators like Padme Amidala cited the arena as evidence that sentient oversight must temper scientific ambition. Her words still resonate. When monsters walk free, no system remains secure. Though Reek never left its pit, its shadow shaped policy for years. Separatist commanders, chastened by the spectacle, refined their approach, favoring nimble, adaptable beasts over unstoppable brutes. Poggle the Lesser, once proud of his creation, turned his genius toward subtler horrors. Cloaked droids, virus-tipped volleys, intelligence breaches. Reek became a footnote in military treatises, a case study in the dangers of underestimating complexity. Among Jedi, Reek's example endured as a lesson in balance and focus. Masters recounted how Obi-Wan's patience and Anakin's daring combined to overcome raw force. Training halls echoed with younglings practicing fluid footwork and situational awareness, a tribute to the sting of chitin against lightsaber hilts. Today, though Reek lies entombed beneath Geonosis's shifting sands, its legend survives in whispered tales. Explorers claim to find fragments of its shattered horns, prized relics among war memorabilia collectors. When the wind carries a low rumble through arid canyons, some swear they hear Reek's distant roar, testing its bonds once more. Reek's collapse beneath debris echoes the Dianoga's downfall in the Death Star's sludge-filled compactor, both victims of their own relentless force and the failures of their master's control. As Geonosis's dust settles, darker titans lurk beneath still waters creatures whose depths threaten even Reek's savage terror. Reek's design reflects the brutal pragmatism of Geonosian bioengineering. Its immense size, standing approximately 2.24 meters tall, combined with its thick, leathery skin, made it a formidable opponent. The triple-horned head was not just for offense, but also served as a defensive shield, deflecting blows and projectiles alike. Its muscular limbs allowed for powerful charges and devastating strikes, while its serrated teeth ensured that any caught in its maw faced a grisly fate. The creature's temperament was as fierce as its build. Conditioned for arena combat, Reek exhibited single-minded aggression, a flaw that ultimately led to its downfall. Unlike other beasts bred for cunning or stealth, Reek's strategy was simple: overwhelm and destroy. This made it predictable to skilled opponents like Obi-Wan and Anakin, who exploited its tunnel vision and lack of adaptability. The arena battle itself was a microcosm of the Clone Wars' broader conflict-raw power clashing against skill and strategy. Reek's rampage disrupted not only the combatants, but also the very infrastructure of the arena, symbolizing the destructive potential of unchecked force. Its collapse beneath the rubble was a poignant reminder that even the mightiest can be felled by circumstance and miscalculation. Beyond the battlefield, Reek's legacy influenced cultural perceptions of engineered beasts. It became a symbol of the dangers inherent in manipulating life for war. A cautionary tale echoed in Jedi teachings and Senate debates. The creature's story serves as a reminder that power must be tempered by wisdom, and that the greatest strength lies not in brute force, but in balance. As Padme Amidala warned in the Senate chambers, "When monsters walk free, no system remains secure." This line encapsulates the political and ethical turmoil surrounding bioengineered weapons like Reek, underscoring the need for vigilance and restraint. Reek's downfall mirrors the fate of the Zillo beast beneath Coruscant's surface. Both creatures embody overwhelming power undone by flaws and the resolve of those who face them. These parallels remind us that in the galaxy's vast tapestry, even titans are subject to the tides of fate and the strength of will. But Geonosis's bloodied sands are only one stage in the galaxy's theater of titans. Beneath Naboo's placid lakes and shadowed depths, other monsters wait silent, patient, and deadly, ready to challenge even Reek's savage terror. Beneath Naboo's mirrored waters, silent leviathans patrol ancient trenches. One bulbous silhouette rises, its glowing tentacles hungrily probing the dark. Long before Gungan diplomats glided through the shimmering bubble bridges of Otoh, Naboo's placid lakes concealed secrets older than the great cities themselves. Beneath the glassy surface, in shadowed trenches and volcanic grottos warmed by subterranean vents, evolved a creature of patient menace, the Colo clawfish. Its ancestors drifted silently among kelp forests, bathed only in the filtered light of distant stars, sculpted by millennia of evolutionary artistry. Each hatchling emerged with a flattened, eel-like body, edged with bioluminescent nodules that pulsed softly in the darkness, casting eerie halos in the murky abyss. Its massive, crocodile-shaped head bristled with venomous fangs, dual mandibles snapping with lethal precision, and rows of serrated teeth designed to crush and rend. These glowing nodules were not mere decoration, but a deadly lure, enticing prey into the Colo claw's crushing embrace. Legend whispers of a cavern collapse centuries ago that trapped a clutch of Colo claw eggs beside luminescent fungi. The hatchlings fed on rich biofilms and larval crustaceans, growing too large for their chamber walls and spilling into the wider lake system. Over generations, Otoh breeders learned to prize the Colo claw's silent glide and the faint, ghostly halo cast by its phosphorescent tendrils. Early explorers boasted of safe submersible tours, confident in their technology and knowledge, until entire research teams vanished without trace. Their final communications reduced to panicked roars, echoing through hull plating. The Colo clawfish's evolutionary path was shaped by Naboo's unique underwater ecosystem. The planet's deep lakes, riddled with volcanic vents and labyrinthine tunnels, provided both sanctuary and hunting ground. In these shadowed realms, patience was the greatest weapon. The Colo clawfish developed not only a body built for ambush, but also a mind honed for waiting. Its metabolism slowed to a crawl, allowing it to drift motionless for days, conserving energy until the perfect moment to strike. The creature's bioluminescence played a crucial role in its hunting strategy. The nodules along its flanks could pulse in intricate patterns, mimicking the movements of smaller fish or the gentle sway of kelp. Unsuspecting prey would be drawn in by the hypnotic display, only to be seized by the colo claw's lightning-fast mandibles. Even Gungan submersibles, with their reinforced hulls and advanced sonar, were not immune to the creature's cunning. The colo claw learned to recognize the vibrations of engines and the subtle shifts in water pressure that signaled an approaching vessel. By the time of Naboo's rise to galactic prominence, the colo claw fish had become a legend among both Gungans and surface dwellers. Its presence was both feared and respected, a reminder that beneath the planet's serene surface, ancient dangers still lurked. By 32 BBY, the Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn sought rare algae from Naboo's core springs for healing salves. Piloting a Spar-class submersible, he ventured into the depths, unaware that the colo claw fish watched from the shadows. The craft's sonar flickered to silence. A flash of azure light lanced across the viewport. The hull shuddered violently as hooked pincers scraped Dura steel, the first recorded post-release ambush of the colo claw fish on an off-world vessel. This encounter cemented the creature's place in Jedi lore as an elegant terror lurking beneath deceptive calm. Unlike the thunderous reek of Geonosis, which charged headlong into battle, the colo claw fish embodied stillness and timing. It struck only when prey slowed beneath exhaustion, a patient predator whose intelligence remained animal rather than sentient. Yet, in silent ambush, it rivaled the cunning of Verminoth-class predators, stalking its victims with cold calculation. From that fateful Spa Day ambush, the colo claw's reputation deepened swiftly. Gungan lagoon tours halted overnight, and guides traded cheerful scripts for emergency evacuation drills. Nautical engineers scrambled to reinforce hull plating with clustered repulsor nets. Yet even these defenses buckled under pincers that cleaved ceramics like brittle shell. The dry docks became graveyards of failed tests. Bent frames, severed conduits, and hull fragments scattered like confetti after Sando-class explosions. Overconfidence blinded Naboo's tourism board. In a bold attempt to restore confidence, they announced the inaugural Colo Gala, a submersible ballet promising dignitaries an up-close spectacle beneath adaptive camouflage paint touted as invisible to beast and beam alike. Jar Jar Binks, eager to showcase Gungan ingenuity, proclaimed with boundless optimism, "Is no trade failed this time," his floppy ears bouncing with hope. Yet, as all legends warn, beasts can slip through even the smallest cracks. On the gala's eve, the elegant sub's hull shimmered with tinted pigments, and crystalline domes offered panoramic views of the tranquil waters. Jovin, the pilot, noted a rhythmic glow pulsing far below and down throttled the engines to drift silently. Then the darkness exhaled. A massive pincer lashed the viewport, shattering Durasteel panels into the cabin as resinous water roared in. Jar Jar's panicked, "Misa! Misa!" mixed with diplomatic curses as officers scrambled to seal watertight hatches. By dawn, only wreckage remained. Twisted frames, empty control modules, and not a claw or scale within recovery reach. Some speculated the beast had retreated to deeper fissures. Others whispered of hidden broods hunting silently beneath Naboo's tranquil surface. The Naboo Senate convened under crisis lighting to assess ecological liabilities and revise tourism regulations, grappling with the consequences of nature's unpredictable wrath. Despite this humbling defeat, the colo claw fish's single flaw, its sole reliance on stealth sealed its eventual fate. Republic engineers reverse-engineered recovered hull fragments, devising sonar disruptors tuned to frequencies that shattered the creature's delicate equilibrium. Divers tested these pulses in controlled lagoons. The leviathan recoiled, its bioluminescence flickering like a wounded star, before vanishing into uncharted crevices. Without its cloak of silence, the beast could no longer mount surprise attacks. Survey vessels now patrol specific sonar bands, mapping tunnel networks where colo claws hide. Under regulated soundscapes, even the silent waters hum with warning pulses, a reminder that patience can be weaponized against patience itself. The decline of the colo claw fish was swift and dramatic. Once the disruptors became standard equipment, the frequency of attacks plummeted. The creature's numbers dwindled as it retreated into the deepest, least accessible trenches. Some believed the species would adapt, evolving new forms of camouflage, or even learning to avoid the disruptive frequencies. Others feared that the loss of such a formidable predator would unbalance Naboo's delicate aquatic ecosystems. In the wake of near underground extinction, Naboo's relationship with its lakes transformed profoundly. Tourism shifted from spectacle to study. Universities built aquatic research sanctuaries, and bioacoustics labs sprang up to decode crustacean sonar vulnerabilities. Scientists published papers on adaptive stealth in crustacean megafauna, citing the colo claw as the paradigm of concealment and capitulation. Cultural ripples reached far shores. Gungan storytellers wove the beast into bedtime sagas, warning younglings, "The waters hide more secrets than the surface shows," a nod to Jar Jar's first scream beneath the waves. Podracer teams on Tatooine adopted modified sonar jammers for slick channeling and homage to the tactics that bested Naboo's submarine hunter. Among Jedi historians, the episode endures as a humbling lesson. Yoda once reminded younglings training in naval ambush, "Patience, you must have but balance stillness with readiness," echoing the wisdom gleaned from both Colo Claw and Geonosis's reek. Coruscant academies now include the encounter in strategic curricula, teaching that raw power falters without perception. Collectors prize the faint glow of preserved tentacle segments enshrined in Coruscant's Natural History Pavilion. During the annual Naboo Senate Memorial, delegates observe a moment of silence beneath holographic waves, honoring lives lost, both Gungan and guest, in the silent depths. Even in the underworld's hush of Mos Espa cantinas, the phrase, "Don't drift like a Colo Gala sub," warns smugglers against overconfidence. From shimmering lakes to the Senate floor, the legacy of Naboo's submarine surprise endures, a testament that nature's shadows are as treacherous as its storms. The Colo Claw's reliance on stealth and ambush echoes the Dianoga's silent terror in the Death Star's sludge-filled compactor, reminding us that in the galaxy's shadows, silence can be as deadly as any roar. Like the OPC killer, whose oblivious aggression led to its undoing, the Colo Clawfish's fate was sealed by its own evolutionary specialization. An apex predator, outmaneuvered by the ingenuity of its prey. The story of the Colo Clawfish inspired not only scientific innovation, but also artistic expression. Poets composed verses about the glowing shadow in the abyss, and painters captured the haunting beauty of its bioluminescent tendrils weaving through the dark. The annual Colonite Festival in Otogunga features lantern-lit processions on the water, each light a tribute to the mysteries lurking below. Biologists continue to study the remnants of the species, hoping to unlock secrets that might aid in the conservation of other threatened aquatic giants. The Colo Claw's unique adaptations, its sensory nodules, its incredible patience, its lightning-fast strike, are now seen as marvels of natural engineering, worthy of preservation even in memory. In the Jedi Order, the Colo Claw's lesson is paired with that of the Zillo beast and the Sando Aqua monster, that every strength carries a shadow, and that wisdom lies in knowing when to wait and when to act. As Master Yoda said, "Patience is the calm before the storm, but readiness is the light that breaks it." Rest now, traveler, and dream of mirrored lakes and glowing depths. But beware, the galaxy's monsters often wait patiently beneath the surface. In the quiet depths, where light fades and silence reigns, the collar-claw fish waits, a glowing shadow in the abyss, reminding all that beneath calm surfaces, danger patiently bides its time. But the galaxy's terrors do not end in water. On distant worlds, even darker forces stir, and the next legend is already rising from the shadows. In the hidden depths of Naboo's churning core, an armored terror breaches its lair. OP-sea killer's hunger knows no bounds. Long before the Gungan bubble cities hummed with trade and diplomacy, Naboo's geothermal vents forged creatures of pressure and heat, sculpted by the planet's volatile heart. Among these denizens of the abyss, the OP-sea killer arose from a labyrinth of subterranean canyons, an armored colossus whose ancestors scavenged volcanic fissures for sustenance. Though biologically akin to crustaceans found on other worlds, evolutionary forces on Naboo shaped the OP's carapace into a fortress stronger than many starship hulls, a living tank that patrolled the dark waters with relentless hunger. The OP's lineage traces back to primordial times, when Naboo's shifting tectonics birthed vast underwater caverns and hydrothermal vents. These vents, spewing mineral-rich, boiling water into the frigid lakebed, created isolated ecosystems where life evolved in extraordinary ways. Here, creatures like the OP-sea killer thrived, their bodies forged in the crucible of heat and crushing pressure. The OP's armored exoskeleton is a marvel of natural engineering layers of chitin and mineral deposits fused to create a shell capable of withstanding the immense forces of its environment and the blows of rival predators. Legends tell of the first sighting, when an exploratory hydroprobe, dispatched to map these underlake caverns, snapped its protective bubble and tumbled into darkness. Rescue crews sent to retrieve the probe's data found only empty corridors and the faint echo of mechanical crunching until a monstrous claw, sized like a transport shuttle, shattered the silence. Scientists later confirmed that OP-sea killers matured by consuming submerged wreckage, hull plating, droid fragments, even lost submarines. This grim diet earned the creature the early misleading moniker sea garbage compactor. Early ecological surveys grossly underestimated the OP's role. It was thought to be a benign cleaner, but field reports soon revealed mounting evidence of territorial aggression. Hydrothermal bubbles were shattered where these beasts pressed against cavern walls. Probe footage caught glowing eyes reflecting off the black water, and sonar pings rebounded in unnerving echoes that sounded almost like laughter, a chilling reminder that this predator was no mindless scavenger. Deep beneath the lakebed, thermal vents created oxygen-rich springlets prime breeding grounds for these nightmares. Juvenile OPs hunted in packs, coordinated and cunning, but adults became solitary hunters of colossal scale. Each specimen boasted a jagged maw lined with bone-white spines and 6 paddle-like legs snapping water with seismic force. Their presence often went unnoticed until they chose to announce themselves, leaving divers and sometimes entire research teams adrift in horror. Gungan elders recorded the first real confrontation when OP-sea killers attacked a salvage vessel gathering mineral samples. The sub's hydrobubble imploded under crushing force, scattering crew and cargo into oblivion. Historians later dubbed that disaster Naboo's dark baptism, marking a turning point from benign reef to battlefield. From that day, OPs shed their cleaner reputation. They were predators sculpted by desperation, destined to devour anything foolish enough to cross their path. The peak of the OPC killer's infamy arrived when a clandestine research subdubbed the Nereid infiltrated Naboo's core to study vent ecology. Piloted by zealous xenobiologists, the Nereid boasted reinforced hydrostatic bubbles and emergency thrusters designed to withstand the crushing pressures of the abyss. Yet none anticipated the creature's sheer disregard for personal space. Sensors first detected an anomalous mass, then a collision so violent it sent tremors across the hull. The OPC killer struck like living artillery. Its armored forelegs buckled the Nereid's shielded dome. Twisted metal cut through life support conduits. Inside, the research team fought desperately to deploy a repulsion field, only to see power falter under relentless pressure. With a final, earth-shaking crunch, the sub's bubble imploded. One moment all was darkness. The next survivors bobbed to the surface. Their screams lost amid boiling water and vent steam. News of the Nereid's fate spread quickly. Republic authorities dispatched a task force armed with prototype sonic disruptors designed to fracture exoskeletons. But the OP's flaw, its utter obliviousness to boundaries, undermined their plan. Rather than avoiding the devices, the creature charged the source, absorbing the pulses in its cavernous maw. Engineers hadn't accounted for an adversary that attacked the attack itself. Seizing initiative, xenobiologist Maylan suggested luring the beast into narrower canyons where its bulk would work against it. Under fire from droid-forced escort ships, an unmanned bait submarine rigged with amplified sonic projectors descended into OP's lair. The plan teetered on precision. Tether length, pulse frequency, bubble integrity. When the trap sprung, the OP rammed the vessel, compressing the bubble until it buckled under pressure. Then, in a moment of ironic triumph, the projectors overloaded, sending acoustic shockwaves that shattered the creature's carapace from within. The explosion reverberated through the core, collapsing several cavern ceilings and sealing off vast stretches of the underlake. When the water cleared, only fragments of the OP remained. A shattered claw dripping ichor, a broken vent scarred by sonic burns. Hydrodynamic maps were revised to mark the site as off-limits. In killing the apex killer, Naboo's defenders had unleashed seismic instability. Vent turbulence rose, creating new hazards for centuries. Though the OPC killer perished, its final act reminded all that raw force alone invites retribution. Its lack of spatial awareness charging anything near proved fatal when matched against cunning physics. Where Reek's hubris led to arena collapse, and the Colo-Claw's stealth faltered against science, the OP's oblivious aggression became its undoing. The vanquished OPC killer reshaped both ecology and policy. Naboo's Senate passed the Hydrocore Protection Act, mandating environmental impact studies for any deep lake operations. Hydrothermal vent harvesters now use remote probes and predictive modeling, preventing undue disturbance to subterranean ecosystems. Scientific journals lauded the OP as a case study in evolutionary overextension, when unbridled adaptation meets engineered countermeasure. Researchers compared its downfall to the Colo-Claw's retreat, noting a recurring theme. Predators unpracticed in defense falter when prey evolves in return. Holodramas featured dramatized recreations of the Nereid incident, often quoting Maylan's caution, "Under these waves, arrogance drowns first." Among Gungans, barroom storytellers toasted the beast's end with ribbety laughter, brandishing frothy mugs engraved with a cracked hydrostatic bubble, the enduring symbol of the OP's fatal flaw. And in Coruscant's Natural History Pavilion, a preserved fragment of armored carapace rests beneath a transparent dome, accompanied by placards recounting how even the mightiest can shatter under their own momentum. Jedi archives reference the incident in stealth training. Even the largest foe yields to the smallest strategy. Masters remind Padawans of Qui-Gon's narrow escape from the Colo claw fish, and May Lan's clever ruse against the OP proof that wisdom tempers size. Thus, in hushed tones across the Order's halls, the crustacean nightmare lives on as both warning and inspiration. The OP's story also rippled through scientific communities beyond Naboo. Xenobiologists debated the evolutionary pressures that led to such a formidable but ultimately flawed predator. Some posited that the OP's immense size and armored bulk, while advantageous in the isolated depths, became liabilities when confronted with novel threats and advanced technology. Others saw the creature as a symbol of nature's raw power, a reminder that even the most ancient ecosystems harbor secrets beyond understanding. The incident also spurred advancements in underwater technology. Engineers studied the OP's carapace composition, seeking materials that could mimic its resilience for starship hulls and armored vehicles. The acoustic shockwave tactics developed during the Nereid operation influenced new designs in non-lethal crowd control and anti-predator defenses used by aquatic researchers and planetary security forces alike. The OP's oblivious aggression and armored might mirror the Dianoga's silent terror in the Death Star's sludge-filled compactor, and the Colo Claw's stealthy ambush tactics, weaving a tapestry of nature's diverse threats across the galaxy's varied worlds. In the boiling depths where pressure crushes and silence reigns, the OP sea killer lurked, a reminder that even the fiercest armor can crack under the weight of cunning and patience. The OP's downfall also sparked a re-evaluation of how Naboo, and by extension other worlds, approach the stewardship of their most dangerous ecosystems. The Hydrocore Protection Act became a model for planetary environmental regulation, inspiring similar legislation on Mon Cala, Glee Anselm, and even the floating cities of Bespin, where gas mining operations threatened native fauna. Conservationists invoked the OP's fate as a rallying cry, arguing that unchecked exploitation of the deep could awaken terrors best left undisturbed. Culturally, the OP's legend endured. Naboo's children reenacted the Nereid incident in school holodramas, with one child donning a segmented carapace and another wielding a sonic disruptor. The phrase, "Don't poke the OP," became a local proverb, warning against reckless provocation of forces beyond one's control. Artists painted the OP's jagged silhouette on the walls of Oto Gunga, and musicians composed eerie, bubbling symphonies inspired by sonar echoes and the beast's thunderous approach. In the galaxy's scientific circles, the OP sea killer became a touchstone for debates on adaptation and extinction. Some scholars compared its fate to that of the Zillo beast, another creature whose overwhelming might ultimately led to its isolation or destruction. Both tales, woven into Jedi lessons and planetary lore, served as reminders that power without awareness is a double-edged sword. The OP's armored remains, displayed in museums and research labs, inspired a new generation of engineers and biologists. Students marveled at the intricate layering of chitin and mineral, while aspiring xenobiologists studied the creature's feeding habits and social structure. The Nereid incident became a staple of environmental ethics courses, cited alongside the Purgil's migratory wisdom and the Sando aqua monster's decisive hesitation. Through it all, the OP sea killer's memory lingered in Naboo's collective consciousness, a symbol of nature's grandeur, its dangers, and its lessons. It was a living echo of the planet's wild heart, a caution to those who would plumb the depths without respect, and a challenge to future generations to balance curiosity with care. But Naboo's apex predator was still waiting below the abyss, a titan of silent might, prepared to claim its dominion, a shadow that would test the limits of patience and power alike. And beyond Naboo's waters, on distant worlds, other titans stir, each with their own flaws, each a new legend waiting to awaken. In Naboo's pitch-black depths, a colossal silhouette drifts. Sando aqua monster, a whale-gorilla hybrid, poised between curiosity and carnage. Long before Gungan scouts charted every lake and cavern, the Sando aqua monster reigned as the undisputed sovereign of Naboo's abyssal waters. This leviathan's lineage is a tale woven from the planet's ancient geological and biological history. Scholars trace its origins to a remarkable fusion of two disparate ancestries: the great cetacean leviathans that once roamed primordial oceans and mountain-sized primates stranded by shifting tectonic plates. Over eons, isolation and the influence of geothermal currents sculpted a creature bearing sinewy arms, ending in flipper fists, a whale-like tail capable of generating overwhelming tidal force, and a cavernous maw lined with grit-like teeth engineered to grind through the toughest crustacean armor. Mythic accounts tell of the first Sando offspring hatching from eggs laid deep within underlake lava tubes, their shells scorched by volcanic heat. Upon breaking free, these newborns weighed dozens of tons, already capable of disturbing entire vent fields with a single tail flick. The name Sando was bestowed by local biologists, inspired by the searing currents that nurtured them, while Aqua Monster captured their monstrous scale and demeanor. Early Gungan divers spoke in hushed tones of dome-shaking roars, echoing through hydrophone sounds that blended the haunting melodies of whale song with the primal power of gorilla chest beats. As the species matured, juveniles hunted in coordinated schools, ambushing dense swarms of tri-fin minnows and giant amphipods. However, adults diverged into fiercely territorial, largely solitary creatures. Their surprising intelligence manifested in rudimentary tool use: coral spike lances pressed into muddy banks to corral prey, kelp snares woven into rock crevices to trap unwary scuttlers. Yet even such ingenuity paled beside their sheer might. One flick of a Sando's flipper fist could collapse a cavern roof, sending plumes of sediment cascading through the water and starving entire ecosystems for miles. Despite their fearsome prowess, the Sando largely avoided contact with Naboo's surface dwellers until growing desperation in the creature's hunting grounds pushed it upward. Declining populations around geothermal vents and the encroachment of tourism submarines forced the Sando closer to shallower trenches, where it encountered its greatest challenge: the OP-sea killer. Unlike other prey, these armored scavengers fought back with brutal ferocity, snapping and clawing in vicious defense. The titanic clashes between Sando and OP reshaped both species, setting the stage for an apex predator's rise. The Sando's ascendancy came amid the OP-sea killer's aggressive expansion, which devastated geothermal vent communities. These crustacean nightmares overran hatchling nurseries, threatening the Sando's food supply. Driven by famine, one massive Sando breached the vent clusters, its thunderous arms pounding water into whirlpools that scattered OP schools like flotsam. Eyewitness logs from submerged research stations describe an otherworldly ballet, the Sando's flipper fists pulverizing OP exoskeletons, its whale tail smashing through hydrostatic bubbles like brittle glass. At the peak of combat, the whale-gorilla hybrid performed its most astonishing feat, crushing a fully intact OP shell beneath its weight, then gently tossing the carcass aside to save Qui-Gon Jinn's beleaguered spar submarine from certain destruction. Engineers later confirmed that's when a hull breach miraculously sealed itself under pressure from the Sando's bulk, allowing the craft to escape the abyss. Yet this same capacity for mercy revealed the Sando's critical flaw: chronic indecision. Faced with Jedi presence within the submarine's cockpit, the creature hesitated. Its massive arms, capable of toying with starships, lingered uncertainly between pulverizing and protective impulses. This pause allowed Qui-Gon to recalibrate thrusters and fire an underbelly flare, momentarily blinding the Sando's deep-water vision and granting safe passage to the escaping vessel. After that pivotal event, the Sando faded back into deeper trenches, its legend sealed by ambiguity savior or slayer. Scientists recorded its slow decline in oviposition rates. After consuming too many OPs, adult Sando found their eggs vulnerable to fungal infections, thriving in polluted vent streams. As nutrition cycles collapsed, juvenile survival plummeted. By the time Naboo's hydroecologists intervened with biofiltration arrays to restore vent health, only a handful of Sando remained, each weighed down by the injuries of past skirmishes and the burden of indecision. In one haunting survey dive, a lone Sando was filmed drifting listlessly amid skeletal OP carapaces, an emperor stripped of subjects. When researchers transmitted the footage to Otto Gunga's Holonet channels, entire schools of young Gungans watched in silence, absorbing a lesson in flaws bigger than size. Even apex predators falter when uncertain of their purpose. By the time the last known adult Sando aqua monster retreated beyond sonar range, it had altered every facet of Naboo's underlake ecosystem. OP populations rebounded, some mutated with thicker shells to survive future encounters, while other vent species colonized niches the Sando once dominated. Though the creature survived in genetic memory, its living form receded into myth. The Sando aqua monster's journey was shaped not only by its titanic strength, but by the flaw that shadowed its every move indecision. This flaw, born from a complex interplay of primal instinct and surprising intelligence, defined its legacy as much as its physical might. In the depths where light fades and pressure crushes, the Sando's raw power was unmatched. Its sinewy arms could crush OPC killers with ease, its whale-like tail generating tidal forces that reshaped underwater landscapes. Yet when confronted with the unknown, particularly intelligent beings, like the Jedi, the Sando hesitated. This hesitation was not weakness, but a reflection of its conflicted nature, a creature torn between the instinct to dominate and a nascent awareness of other life forms' intentions. This flaw came to the fore during the encounter with Qui-Gon Jinn's submarine. The Sando's initial aggression gave way to a protective pause, a moment where it seemed to weigh the consequences of its actions. Its massive hands lingered, caught between crushing the vessel and sparing it. That moment of indecision saved lives, but also exposed the creature's vulnerability. The flare that blinded its vision was a reminder that even the mightiest can be undone by hesitation. Over time, this flaw contributed to the Sando's decline. As environmental pressures mounted pollution, overhunting of prey, and habitat disruption, the creature's inability to decisively adapt hastened its fall. Fungal infections ravaged eggs left vulnerable by weakened adults, and juvenile survival rates plummeted. The Sando's reign as apex predator waned, replaced by a fragile balance where other species reclaimed lost ground. Yet even in decline, the Sando's presence shaped Naboo's underwater world. Its battles with the OPC killer sculpted ecosystems, its movements stirred nutrient flows, and its very existence inspired awe and caution among the planet's inhabitants. The creature's flaw, paradoxically, became a source of wisdom, a living testament that power without clarity can falter, Centuries later, the Sando aqua monster endures not just as a creature of legend, but as a profound symbol woven into Naboo's cultural and ecological tapestry. Gungan elders recount tales of the whale gorilla's indecisive gaze. The moment jaws cracked, but hands paused, teaching younglings that hesitation can be as lethal as aggression. In Oto Gunga's amphitheater, holographic simulations recreate the Sando's duel with the OP, spectators feeling simulated pressure waves and ambient darkness, reminding all that apex status carries both power and peril. Marine biologists on Coruscant analyze preserved Sando tissue samples, uncovering genetic markers linked to environmental sensitivity. These studies have inspired conservation protocols across worlds, where bioengineers emphasize ecosystem balance over brute expansion. The phrase, Sando's shadow, has entered lexicons describing any leader whose fear of choice undermines command. Artisans craft jewelry from polished Sando bone fragments, delicate pendants shaped like wavering silhouettes, symbolizing both might and doubt. In Naboo's annual Vent Renewal Festival, delegates release biolooms into the lakes at twilight, replicating the Sando's bioluminescent wake and renewing vows to protect both light and shadow in nature's weave. Within the Jedi Order, the Sando's tale joins the stories of Reek's recklessness and the Colo Claw's stealth in training modules. Younglings learn that raw power demands decisive wisdom. Masters remind them, the greatest strength lies in clarity of purpose. Even Jar Jar Binks' survivor of both Colo Claw and OP ambush once quipped during a diplomatic summit, "Misa no forget big creature that save Jedi and scare Jar Jar." His remark underscores that courage and choice intertwine in every legend. The Sando aqua monster's legacy also resonates in scientific and cultural dialogues across the galaxy. Its genetic resilience, longevity, some specimens living up to a century or more, and amphibious nature have fascinated xenobiologists. The creature's ability to haul itself partially onto land, supported by powerful arms, speaks to evolutionary bridges between aquatic and terrestrial life. This adaptability, however, was limited by its immense weight and undeveloped hind limbs, confining it mostly to water's edge. The Sando's battles with the OPC killer remain a subject of fascination, illustrating the delicate balance of predator and prey. These titanic clashes reshaped Naboo's underwater topography and influenced vent community dynamics. The OP's armored ferocity forced the Sando to evolve hunting strategies and tool use, while the Sando's dominance kept OP populations in check, preventing ecological collapse. In popular culture, the Sando's image has become iconic. Holonet broadcasts feature documentaries blending scientific fact with mythic storytelling, while artists depict the creature in murals and sculptures, capturing its dual nature of power and hesitation. Its story is a reminder that even the mightiest beings carry shadows within them. But water beasts have nothing on land leviathans, where claws meet claws and mountains walk. A new terror arises on solid ground, challenging the galaxy's understanding of power and purpose anew. From Coruscant's marble spires to its neon canyons, one colossal roar shattered the skyline. Zillo Beast, armored terror incarnate. Beneath the gleaming towers and skyway throngs of Coruscant, the galaxy's ecumenopolis, lie forgotten caverns carved deep into ancient bedrock. These subterranean catacombs predate the Republic itself, stretching back millennia before senators etched their ideals into marble halls. There, in the planet's primordial bones, slumbered great hulks of living stone among them, the creature later christened the Zillo Beast. This gargantuan organism was no ordinary beast. Its dermal plating rivaled the durasteel of star destroyers, a natural armor forged over countless ages. Its ancestors had survived cataclysms that razed continents, healing wounds with volcanic sediment and mineral-rich deposits. Over eons, the Zillow's skin fused with these minerals, creating an armor so resilient that even the most advanced projectile weapons could not pierce it. Legends whispered of tectonic shifts and seismic tremors that heralded its stirring, but no record survived its first true awakening. Scholars pieced together its history from seismic logs and the charred remnants of ancient Goliaths long buried beneath Coruscant's foundations. It was only when a clandestine research expedition tunneled too deep that the Zillow beast emerged, its eyes igniting the tunnel in molten gold. Guards fired energy rifles. Beams glanced off its scales as though striking phantom light. In that moment, Republic scientists realized they faced a living Fortress One whose very existence defied military logic. Emperor Palpatine, schooled in clandestine acquisitions and shadowy ambitions, dispatched secret operatives to secure the creature's carapace. Rumor claimed he intended to graft fragments into experimental armor suits for his personal guard, seeking invincibility through the beast's impenetrable hide. Yet every attempt to harvest a scale failed. Each incision triggered seismic backlash that collapsed shafts and swallowed drilling rigs. Capital engineers, abashed by their blunder, redrew geological maps to cordon off the region. Still, whispers persisted of schematics stolen by shadow brokers, fueling dreams of invincible weaponry fashioned from Zillow hide. Despite the Empire's best efforts, the Zillow beast lingered in classified reports, anathema beneath Coruscant's glittering surface. It drifted through subterranean catacombs, leaving footprints that gouged bedrock like the wake of a mountain sliding downhill. Only when the Clone Wars swept senators into panic did the beast's legend breach public ears. An errant attack craft fleeing militant droids crashed into its domain, igniting its temper. Months later, the galaxy would witness its fury in the most dramatic confrontation Coruscant had ever known. The Zillow beast's true debut unfolded amid the political tempest of the Clone Wars. Separatist forces engineered a covert bombing near the Senate's Grand Plaza, hurling a low-yield seismic charge into Coruscant's foundations. Within seconds, tremors awakened the slumbering Titanic Guardian. Rising through collapsed corridors and ruptured maintenance shafts, it breached the planet's crust and thundered into the night sky. Towering above cloud-piercing spires, its carapace gleamed with molten rivulets where older plates had cracked, a testament to both its age and resilience. Senators scattered as rubble rained, and sky cars careened off traffic lanes. Palpatine himself watched from the Senate tower, face inscrutable as the beast roared a sound that shook systems and drowned out the clamoring holoprojectors. "I see now the folly of tampering with primeval forces," muttered Representative Tin. In the gathering chaos, city-built defenses, turret arrays, and seismic disruptors proved useless. Their blasts ricocheted harmlessly. Some fractures even healed as swiftly as they formed, thanks to the Zillow's rapid regenerative cells. As panic set in, Republic scientists scrambled for a verdict. Chemical sedatives, focused thermal charges, even sonic interference, nothing breached the monster's living armor. It strode across Coruscant's financial district, smashing data spires and leveling skyscrapers with each mighty footstep. Banks tumbled, holo advertisements flickered into oblivion, and senators scrambled in battle droids' SUVs, faces pale beneath panic masks. Yet amid the devastation, a small team of specialists discovered the beast's weakness, its own aversion to diplomatic overtures. In a stroke of ironic ingenuity, Chancellor Palpatine ordered a ceasefire in the area, and dispatched envoys bearing diplomatic insignias, the same symbols the Zillow had seen when it once guarded long-lost subterranean archives under the Old Republic. As the armored behemoth paused mid-stomp, envoys projected peaceful greetings through resonance fields tuned to its sensory organs. The creature's massive head tilted, horns rattling like dying thunder, before it pivoted and trudged away, each measured step collapsing elevated bridges behind it. This unexpected retreat marked the beast's fall. Capital engineers sealed collapsed vaults to entomb its pathway, and specialized mining charges collapsed access tunnels in a domino of rock, effectively quarantining the Zillow within a reinforced biocontainment zone. Where explosive shells had failed, careful barricades prevailed. The city's emergency cast its final gambit, not in force, but in walls of ordnance-laden stone, laid by Republic geologists under field conditions. Yet, this was not the end. Palpatine's obsession with the Zillow beast's armor did not wane. Secret experiments continued, and the Emperor's covert cloning projects sought to replicate the beast's indestructible hide for his stormtrooper legions. The creature's legacy would ripple through the galaxy's dark undercurrents for years to come. In the aftermath, Coruscant's skyline bore the scars of the Zillow's rampage. Entire precincts lay in ruins, and the Senate commissioned memorials for both victims and heroes, the city's first tribute to a monster turned inadvertent diplomat. Though the creature survived, alive in isolation beneath layers of debris, its reign of terror ended not by conquest, but by recognizing the value of parley over power. The Zillow Beasts saga reshaped galactic thought on the intersection of might and negotiation. Military councils across systems cited its rampage as evidence that overwhelming force can backfire, and that communication sometimes wields greater power than blasters. The phrase, allergy to diplomacy, entered strategic doctrines to describe adversaries who react violently to overtures. Commanders learned to temper fire with dialogue when confronting unknown threats. In Coruscant's rebuilt financial district, architects incorporated breather zones plazas designed to host diplomatic summits and serve as safe corridors in future crises. Statues of collapsed data spires stand alongside plaques commemorating the day when a beast taught politicians humility. University courses in off-world policy reference the Zillow incident, exploring how symbols of peace pacified a creature bred for destruction. Republic scientists, chastened by their terrible life choices in trying to weaponize the Zillow's carapace, established stricter ethics panels for xenobiological research. Palpatine's covert aspirations became a cautionary footnote in history texts. Even emperors may invite ruin when they reach for forbidden power. Meanwhile, HoloNet holodramas replay the beast's rampage, often intercut with flashbacks to Reek's arena tantrums and the Colo Claw's stealthy, ambush-subtle callbacks, reminding viewers of the galaxy's many lurking threats. Among Jedi archives, the tale serves as parable. Obi-Wan's lesson that diplomacy can calm storms, even when they wear scales. As Master Yoda once observed, size matters, not yet voice can shift the tide. Coruscant's apprentices practice interspecies negotiation exercises, drawing inspiration from envoys who halted the Zillow's march. To this day, deep beneath Coruscant's renewed glow, the Zillow beast endures in suspended animation, its golden eyes reflecting torchlight through reinforced viewports. Senators sometimes pause before these portals, recalling that even the most implacable titan may yield to words if spoken with sincerity. The Zillo beast's story echoes beyond Coruscant's gleaming towers, a reminder that power unchecked invites ruin. Its legacy intertwines with other legends like the Purrgil, whose cosmic migrations teach patience and respect, or the Reek, whose fury in the arena was both terror and tragedy. These tales, woven into the galaxy's fabric, remind all that strength is tempered by wisdom, and that sometimes the greatest victory is survival itself. But Coruscant's chaos was just practice away from city lights. On barren wastelands and forgotten worlds, true behemoths walk without constraint, their stories yet to be told. In space's cold expanse, even legends find retirement fleeting, especially when tentacled nightmares crash the party uninvited. On Coruscant, the city world where day and night are measured not by sun or moon, but by the pulse of speeder traffic and the glow of a trillion lights, legends sleep deep beneath the surface. Before the first Republic senator ever carved their ideals into marble, before the first sky bridge arched between towers, the planet's core was a wilderness of stone and fire. In those ancient catacombs, something monstrous slumbered, a creature known only in whispers and seismic readings, later named the Zillo beast. The Zillo's lineage stretches back to a primordial era, when Coruscant's crust was still cooling and volcanic storms raged across continents. Its ancestors were titans of survival, burrowing through magma flows, healing wounds with mineral-rich mud, and outlasting every extinction event that swept the planet. Over eons, their hides fused with the world's bedrock, layer by layer, until the Zillo's armored plates became as tough as starship hulls, impervious to blaster fire, resistant to toxins, and able to regenerate from wounds that would fell lesser beasts. Myths grew around these living fortresses. Some said they were the planet's immune system, awakened by great upheaval to purge threats from the world's heart. Others believed them to be guardians of forgotten knowledge, their memories encoded in the crystalline lattice of their bones. But as Coruscant's civilization rose, the Zillo beast faded into legend, its tunnels sealed by duracrete and time. For millennia, the Republic's engineers tunneled ever deeper, carving out new layers for factories, power plants, and secret research labs. It was in one such forgotten vault, during the fevered years of the Clone Wars, that a team of scientists stumbled upon the Zillo's lair. Their drills pierced an ancient chamber, releasing a wave of heat and a low, rumbling growl that sent tremors through the city's foundations. When the beast awoke, its golden eyes burned like twin suns, and the world above would soon learn the price of disturbing what should have been left to dream. Republic security forces responded with the only language they knew: force. Blaster bolts ricocheted off the Zillo's scales, leaving only scorched marks and deeper fury. The creature surged upward, smashing through access shafts and maintenance corridors, its roar echoing through the hollow bones of the city. The scientists, realizing too late the magnitude of their mistake, retreated behind sealed blast doors, leaving seismic sensors to record the beast's every movement. In the highest towers, Emperor Palpatine watched with cold interest. He saw not a monster, but an opportunity, a living specimen whose indestructible armor could change the fate of armies. Secret orders went out to capture the Zillo alive, to study its biology and harvest its scales for the Empire's elite. But every attempt to wound or restrain the beast triggered violent aftershocks, collapsing tunnels and swallowing entire research teams. The Zillo's flaw, if it had one, was an utter intolerance for intrusion, an allergy to diplomacy, as one exasperated senator quipped. Still, the Empire persisted. Rumors spread of shadowy figures stealing fragments of the Zillo's carapace, selling them to arms dealers and black market engineers. But no weapon, no sedative, no trap could hold the beast for long. In the end, The city's architects simply redrew their blueprints, sealing off entire levels and hoping the Zillow would return to its restless slumber. But the Clone Wars would soon bring chaos to Coruscant's doorstep, and with it, the Zillow's legend would erupt into daylight. The Zillow beast's flaw, its violent aversion to intrusion, shaped every moment of its journey, from myth to menace. When separatist saboteurs detonated a seismic charge beneath the Senate's Grand Plaza, the resulting tremor was more than enough to rouse the sleeping Titan. The city's foundations shuddered as the beast clawed its way upward, bursting through layers of durasteel and permacrete, emerging into the night with a roar that drowned out sirens and shattered transparent steel. For the citizens of Coruscant, the world ended in a single heartbeat. Towers that had stood for centuries crumbled beneath the Zillow's onslaught. Sky cars spun out of control, raining debris into the neon-lit canyons below. Senators fled their chambers as the beast's shadow swept across the plaza, its armored plates gleaming with the molten scars of its ascent. "I see now the folly of tampering with primeval forces," muttered Representative Tyne, his words lost in the chaos. The city's defenses, turrets, sonic cannons, seismic disruptors, proved useless. Energy blasts ricocheted off the Zillow's hide, some even healing as quickly as they struck. Panic spread faster than fire. In the financial district, data spires toppled like dominoes, their collapse sending shockwaves through the market's digital core. Holoads flickered and died, and the city's wealth vanished in a storm of dust and falling glass. Republic scientists, desperate for a solution, tried everything: chemical sedatives, thermal charges, even sonic resonance fields. Nothing worked. The beast's flaw, its inability to tolerate intrusion, its allergy to diplomacy, made every attempt at communication or containment an act of war. The more they tried to subdue it, the more violently it responded. In one infamous moment, a team of negotiators approached with banners of peace, only to be met with a thunderous roar that sent them fleeing for their lives. But then, in a twist of irony, the key to halting the Zillow's rampage came not from force, but from memory. A small team of archivists remembered ancient symbols, insignias the beast might have seen in the days when it guarded the old Republic's subterranean vaults. Chancellor Palpatine, ever the strategist, ordered a ceasefire and sent envoys bearing these symbols, projecting peaceful greetings through resonance fields tuned to the Zillow's senses. The city held its breath as the beast paused, its massive head tilting, horns rattling like distant thunder. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Then, with a rumble that shook the Senate tower, the Zillow turned away, each step collapsing bridges and burying its path beneath rubble. Engineers raced to seal the tunnels behind it, using mining charges to entomb the beast in a reinforced biocontainment zone. The Zillow's fall was not a defeat, but a retreat, a recognition, perhaps, that even titans must yield to the language of memory and peace. The city's scars would heal, but the lesson would linger. Some forces cannot be tamed, only respected. The Zillow beast's rampage left more than ruined buildings in its wake. It reshaped the way the galaxy thought about power, diplomacy, and the limits of control. In the aftermath, Coruscant's skyline bore the scars of its passing: shattered spires, collapsed plazas, and memorials to the lives lost in a single night of chaos. The Senate commissioned statues of the fallen data towers, their twisted forms a reminder that even the greatest achievements of civilization are fragile before the forces of nature. Military strategists across the galaxy studied the incident, searching for lessons. The phrase, allergy to diplomacy entered the lexicon, a warning to those who would try to force peace on the unwilling. Commanders learned that overwhelming firepower is not always the answer, that sometimes understanding and respect can achieve what blasters cannot. The Zillow's story became a case study in military academies, a cautionary tale about the dangers of underestimating the unknown. In the rebuilt financial district, architects designed breather zones, open plazas, meant to serve as safe havens and gathering places in times of crisis. These spaces, lined with memorial plaques and statues of the Zillow in repose, became symbols of resilience and renewal. University courses in off-world policy reference the Zillow incident, exploring how ancient symbols and gestures of peace could pacify even the most destructive forces. For Republic scientists, the event was a humbling lesson. Their reckless attempts to weaponize the Zillow's carapace led to stricter ethics panels and new guidelines for xenobiological research. Palpatine's secret ambitions to graft the beast's armor onto his personal guard became a cautionary footnote in history texts, a reminder that even emperors can court disaster when they reach for forbidden power. The story echoed through the Jedi archives as well. Master Yoda, reflecting on the incident, observed, "Size matters not yet voice can shift the tide." Jedi apprentices practiced interspecies negotiation exercises, drawing inspiration from the envoys who halted the Zillow's march. The tale served as a parable. Even the most implacable Titan may yield to words, if spoken with sincerity. Holonet holodramas replayed the beast's rampage, intercutting scenes of destruction with flashbacks to other legendary creatures like the Rathtars, whose own self-destructive flaws had once saved Han Solo and his crew from disaster. The subtle callback reminded viewers that in a galaxy filled with monsters, sometimes the greatest threat comes not from teeth or claws, but from the inability to coexist. Among smugglers and spacers, the Zillow's legend grew. Stories spread of shadow brokers trading in fragments of its scales, of bounty hunters seeking glory in the depths beneath Coruscant. Yet none dared venture too deep, for the memory of the beast's fury lingered in every tremor that shook the city's bones. And so, the Zillow beast endures in suspended animation, deep beneath the city's renewed glow, its golden eyes reflecting torchlight through reinforced viewports. Senators sometimes pause before these portals, reflecting on the day when diplomacy, not destruction, saved their world. The lesson is whispered in council chambers and cantinas alike. Even titans may yield if you speak the right language. But Coruscant's chaos was just practice out in the galaxy's shadowy fringes, where the rules of civilization fade. True behemoths still roam, and the next legend waits to awaken. On the Kessel Run's deadliest curve, a colossal maw emerges from the maelstrom. Suma Verminoth, whose hunger devours ships whole. Deep within Kessel's swirling spice storms, where gravity wells twist star lanes into tangled loops, the Summer Verminoth was born. Its ancestors drifted in the maelstrom's outer fringes, feeding on spice spore blooms and unwary creatures sucked in by vortex currents. Over countless generations, these leviathans adapted, their gelatinous hides thickening against crushing pressure, their tentacles elongating to snare vessels caught in the turbulence. Legends among spice runners spoke of the void's mouth, a yawning rift where navicomps failed and pilots whispered final prayers. First recorded in smugglers' graffiti on a derelict freighter, the name Suma Verminoth meant supreme devourer in an ancient seafaring dialect long since lost. Early spice dredgers dismissed these tales as superstition until hull logs appeared, stitched together from fragmented transmissions, screaming alarms, ripping metal, and a final guttural gurgle that froze listeners in dread. Biologists later mapped the creature's range, a labyrinth of pocket dimensions formed by Kessel's unstable hyperfields. Within these subrealms, hydrodynamic pressures soared, and darkness was so dense it felt like solid glass. Here, Summa Verminoth grew to unimaginable proportions, its bulbous body spanning kilometers, its countless tentacles writhing like knitted vines. Each limb bristled with sucker pads that could latch onto a capital ship's bulkhead as easily as a remora on a whale. Despite its dominance, Summa Verminoth remained elusive. Spice mines reported missing transports, but rarely bodies, only twisted debris and swirling plumes of viscous ichor. Some miners claimed to glimpse glowing eyes in the maelstrom's heart, twin lanterns staring through folded space. Yet even those daring enough to pursue the creature found themselves lost in temporal loops, their compasses spinning, their memories unraveling. Kessel's crime lords, ever hungry for power, sought to capture or kill the beast, both for its legendary flesh, rumored to grant visions, and for the prestige of taming the cosmic terror. But every expedition vanished, leaving behind only warped hull fragments and whispered regrets. Gradually, the Summa Verminoth passed from rumor into legend, a cosmic Cthulhu whose domain lay beyond mortal reckoning. The Summa Verminoth's most notorious strike occurred when the Millennium Falcon, laden with critical spice contraband, miscalculated Kessel's unstable hyperlane. Han Solo, ever cocky about his record, in less than 12 parsecs, found his navicomputer looping angles that made no sense. Alarms blared as the ship lurched into the heart of the maelstrom, the comp shield flickering against forces that sought to tear reality apart. "You ever get a bad feeling about thicker storms?" quipped Lando Calrissian over the comms, an ironic echo of Han's own reflex. But before Solo could retort, a massive tentacle longer than a Star Destroyer swept through the Falcon's aft section, shearing off its sensor array. The ship lurched, panels flung into the void as hull plating peeled back like fruit skin. Inside, L-337 screeched in mechanical panic, her circuitry rattled by the attack. "They're everywhere. I can smell their—" "Wait, do I smell?" she chirped, her voice modulating under stress. The Falcon spun, thrown into a cascade of spatial distortions. Solo wrestled the controls, each thruster burn met by a new tendril, each evasive roll trailing salt-stained exhaust. What saved them was not skill, but sheer audacity. Han ignited the Falcon's boosters in full reverse, sandwiched between two writhing tentacles, then rammed a salvage shaft into the nearest limb. Sparks flew as Durasteel met chitinous muscle, creating a pressure wave that momentarily stunned the beast. In that instant, Leia Organa triggered the smuggler's secret weapon, a concussion missile meant for pirates. The blast reverberated through the folded hyperfield, collapsing the immediate pocket dimension and ejecting both ship and creature into adjacent space. The Summa Verminoth's retreat was as sudden as its assault. Its flattened tentacles snapped back, releasing the Falcon like a tossed toy. In the void, the beast's form shimmered and then receded into a rippling blackness beyond sensor's reach. The Falcon, battered but alive, limped out of the maelstrom, its crew shaken by a brush with a force that dwarfed Imperial terror. Yet this victory underscored the creature's flaw. No concept of personal space, an instinct that drove it to overwhelm rather than outthink. While its initial assault nearly consumed a legendary freighter, its single-minded ferocity became predictable engineers, retrofitted ships with tentacle-proof coils and resonance emitters that repelled the beast's grip. Republic scientists and veteran spice runners collaborated to develop the so-called Kessel cage, a network of gravity wells and harmonic dampeners deployed along critical routes. When Summer Verminoth re-entered the maelstrom to strike another convoy, the cage's fields twisted the ambient currents, creating centrifugal zones that flung its bulk against stabilizers, stalling its advance long enough for escort frigates to fire ion turrets. Over time, these tactics forced the cosmic horror into deeper folds of the hyperfield, where space-time distortions made even the creature's instincts uncertain. Ship logs recorded it hesitating at cage boundaries, tentacles retracting as if puzzled by invisible walls. From maelstrom apex to elusive phantom, the Summer Verminoth's reign waned not through blaster fire, but by refusing to share the lanes. The Summer Verminoth's brush with the Falcon entered smuggler lore as the Parsec Predator incident, a cautionary tale illustrating that raw size falters against cunning adaptation. Core world navies adopted Kessel cage technology for high-value transports, and merchant guilds mandated harmonic trials before route clearance. The phrase, "know your space or lose it," became a mantra among hyperlane pilots. In galactic culture, Summer Verminoth inspired artists and poets alike. Hollow painters rendered its form amidst swirling voids, tentacles trailing like cosmic comets. Poets composed verses warning travelers. When currents twist and shadows swell, beware the beast in parallel. Even Jedi Masters referenced the creature during hyperspace training, teaching younglings to sense distortions beyond mere force signatures. The void hides more than silence, they'd warn. It hides hunger. L-337's panicked quips entered droid humor circuits, spawning viral clips of her exclaiming, "I'm melting," or is that just the Kessel stew? Summer Verminoth remains a living legend, an ever-lurking hazard along spice routes, its enormous silhouette a nightmare told by lantern light in cantinas from Nar Shaddaa to Corellia. And though its assaults have dwindled, the cosmic horror endures in every pilot's jittering finger on the hyperdrive lever. Beyond its encounters with smugglers, the Summer Verminoth has a darker legacy intertwined with the Sith. In the Darth Vader comics, the Sith Lord himself confronts a subspecies of this cosmic terror. Unlike the many-eyed beast Han Solo faced, this variant possesses a single, massive eye and electrified tentacles, capable of torturing opponents with Force visions. Vader, however, uses the Force to subdue the creature, bending it to his will and riding it into battle on Exegol, the Sith homeworld. Despite Vader's mastery, the ultimate power belongs to Emperor Palpatine, who crushes the Summer Verminoth with sheer force might, demonstrating that even the galaxy's greatest predator bows to the dark side's true master. This encounter underscores the creature's place not just as a natural hazard, but as a pawn in the Sith's cosmic chess game. The Summer Verminoth is among the largest known creatures in the galaxy, with lengths exceeding 7,500 meters, over 4.5 miles. Its immense size dwarfs even the tallest man-made structures, making it a living leviathan of space. Its multiple eyes and electrified tentacles allow it to ensnare prey with terrifying efficiency, while its gelatinous body withstands the crushing pressures and chaotic energies of the Akadai's maelstrom. Its habitat, the swirling, unstable hyperfields around Kessel, creates a labyrinthine environment of pocket dimensions and temporal loops. This unique ecosystem challenges even the Summer Verminoth's instincts, forcing it to adapt continually. Its ability to manipulate and survive in these folds of space-time adds a layer of cosmic horror to its already fearsome reputation. As Han Solo quipped in the heat of the encounter, "You ever get a bad feeling about thicker storms?" A line that captures the tension and danger of facing a creature whose very existence warps reality itself. The summer Verminoth's inscrutable presence and devastating power echo the Zillo beast's rampage beneath Coruscant, and the Rancor's fury in Jabba's pit monsters, born of environment and circumstance, undone by their own flaws and the indomitable will of those who confront them. But even cosmic horrors bow to the true kings on distant dunes. Beings older than empires stir beneath shifting sands, their hunger and wrath poised to reshape the galaxy's fate once more. In the silent expanse beyond light's reach, colossal whales of living starlight glide. Purrgil, heralds of hyperspace mysteries and marvels. Long before starships carved trails through the void, the Purrgil swam the currents of hyperspace as effortlessly as whales once roamed the oceans of ancient worlds. Born in the silent crucible where space and time entwine, these leviathans emerged from primordial flux, their forms forged from exotic energies and cosmic dust. Unlike mere creatures of flesh, Purrgil embodied the Force's boundless tapestry, bioluminescent flesh rippled with shifting hues, and translucent fins scattered motes of stardust that danced like living constellations. Their story began in the hidden depths of the galaxy, in the places where gravity wells twisted light and nebulae pulsed with the heartbeat of creation. Purrgil were not simply animals, but living echoes of the Force's will, their presence a gentle reminder of the galaxy's ancient mysteries. Early explorers, venturing out in fragile craft, told tales of whale calls echoing through their navicomputers' low-frequency pulses that bent coordinates and confounded even the most advanced droids. These were not mere glitches, but the Purrgil's song, a resonance that shaped the very fabric of hyperspace. Scholars traced these phenomena to anomalies in the Force, where Purrgil congregated in great shoals, singing in harmony as they navigated gravity wells and dimensional folds. Their migration routes, mapped by the earliest wayfinders, became the blueprints for future hyperspace lanes. The creature's ability to metabolize Cluzon-36 gas into hypermatter fuel, then leap across the stars, inspired the first hyperdrive engineers, an act of cosmic mimicry that would forever change galactic civilization. Legends grew among hyperspace navigators. Some claimed to have glimpsed glowing silhouettes swirling in serene depths. Others spoke of vessels vanishing in hyperspace, only to reappear light years away, their crews haunted by visions of living constellations. In hidden temples, Jedi monks meditated on the Purrgil's migration, interpreting their movements as cosmic ley lines, while ancient Sith chroniclers sought to harness their power for darker ends. Yet, for all their majesty, Purrgil remained elusive, untamed titans, indifferent to mortal ambitions. Their massive forms, sometimes half as long as an Imperial Star Destroyer, drifted through the void, trailing nebula mist and stardust. Most navigators considered them hazards, blissfully unaware of the ships that darted through hyperspace lanes. Still, for those who listened, the Purrgil's song was an invitation to wonder, a call to remember that the galaxy was once wild and full of secrets. The Purrgil's flaw, their inability to distinguish between natural phenomena and artificial constructs, shaped every encounter with the sentient beings who would one day call themselves masters of the stars. Their hunger for Cluzon-36 and other rare gases led them to nebulae and dying stars, but also to the exhaust plumes and energy fields of starships. To the Purrgil, a freighter's glowing reactor was just another star to feed upon, a shimmering beacon in the endless dark. The most dramatic encounter came during the siege of Atollon, when Grand Admiral Thrawn's flagship, the Chimaera, and Ezra Bridger's rebel skiff crossed paths with a Purrgil pod. Thrawn, ever the tactician, watched as his sensors recorded a vast shape looming in the corridor between galaxies. An immense Purrgil, its eye reflecting starlight like a passing supernova. The creature's curious inspection disrupted the Chimaera's hyperdrive, plucking it from its calculated trajectory and depositing it in an uncharted sector. Ezra Bridger, guided by a whisper of intuition, climbed to the ship's dorsal rail and projected calming chords through the Force. He recognized the entity from ancient Jedi codices as the Wanderer Between Worlds. As hyperspace-streaked light streamed across the viewport, he spoke in hushed tones. "They're not predators. They're explorers." In that liminal moment, Ezra reached toward Purrgil's consciousness, sending threads of empathy across the spatial gulf. He glimpsed the creature's perspective, an insatiable curiosity, a hunger born of cosmic evolution, not malice. But the Purrgil's flaw surfaced over enthusiastic hitchhikers, unable to differentiate between starship and stellar fuel. When a rogue Purrgil mistook the Chimaera's hull for a drifting star freighter, it began to consume the ship's reactor exhaust, siphoning power through tendrils of psionic resonance. Sparks danced across the bridge console as power cores hummed under invisible pressure. L-337, aboard Ezra's skiff, detected the anomaly first. "They're tasting the engine," she announced, her tone equal parts fascination and alarm. Thrawn barked orders to divert shields and recalibrate conduits, but the Purrgil's tentacular siphon overwhelmed containment fields. Reactor coolant vapors billowed through corridors as deck plates warped under radiant stress. Ezra acted on impulse. He signaled Thrawn, "Guide it away, offer open space." Calculating the Purrgil's trajectory, Thrawn ordered all remaining power to hyperdrive uplinks. As the ship lurched into a makeshift hyperspace exit, Ezra channeled a gentle push, redirecting the beast's path toward an uncharted gas giant. The Purrgil released its grasp, blood-white ichor dissolving in vacuum as the creature dove into the glowing atmosphere below. Yet, this rescue came at a cost. The Chimaera's reactor core suffered irreversible damage, its warp engines offline for weeks. Supplies dwindled, and morale sank among a crew accustomed to swift dominion of the stars. Thrawn, ever disciplined, recorded the encounter as both triumph and error, noting the Purrgil's fascination with artificial constructs and its failure to respect boundaries. Over subsequent voyages, similar incidents occurred. Legends grew of Purrgil joyrides, with vessels strapped to massive fins, carried through uncharted hyperspace corridors, only to be gently spat back into normal space. Some captains returned enriched by nebular gases. Others emerged driftwood, stranded in unknown sectors. The Purrgil's collective behavior treating starships as playful mounts illustrated their critical flaw, an inability to discern technology from environment, leading to unintentional abductions. Galactic navies developed countermeasures. Harmonic emitters broadcasting whale call frequencies to warn ships of Purrgil presence. And hyperspace escorts deploying phased echo buoys to mark safe passages. When coordinated, these tactics persuaded the beasts to glide around convoys rather than through them. Over time, the Purrgil adjusted their patterns, favoring remote sectors and ancient hyperspace rivers where traffic was scarce. The Purrgil's legacy is written across the very fabric of galactic history. Their ability to create natural simu tunnels through hyperspace not only inspired the invention of hyperdrive technology, but also shaped the earliest migration and trade routes, long before the Republic's star charts were inked. The first commercial ships designed for hyperspace travel were even named for these creatures. MPO 1400 Purgil-class star cruisers, a nod to the titans who first taught the galaxy to dream of crossing the stars. In Jedi lore, the Purgil symbolize the balance between curiosity and caution. Masters teach Padawans that empathy can bridge chasms of scale. Listen to the current, not just the storm, they advise, citing Ezra's bond with the Purgil. Their migration patterns are still studied by Force scholars who see in their travels the living flow of the Force itself, a cosmic dance that predates both Jedi and Sith. The Purgil's pivotal role in galactic events cannot be overstated. During the battle for Lothal, Ezra Bridger's alliance with the Purgil turned the tide against the Empire. The creatures enveloped Thrawn's fleet, dragging the Chimaera and its commander into the unknown, far beyond the reach of Imperial vengeance. Their intervention, both awe-inspiring and terrifying, changed the fate of worlds and left a mark on history as profound as any battle or treaty. Yet, not all viewed the Purgil with reverence. Many spacers and freighter captains considered them pests, firing on sight to avoid catastrophic collisions. Their unpredictable migrations led to countless accidents, and their sheer size made them a constant threat to unprepared vessels. Still, over time, the galaxy learned to adapt. Today, Purgil migration charts grace the holonet, guiding freighters around known habitats. Hyperspace buoys pulse with harmonic signals derived from Purgil songs, a testament to cooperation between species. Festivals in remote outposts celebrate Whalefall, a day when sky lanes dim and ships pause in silent reverence for these cosmic voyagers. Artisans craft luminescent sculptures depicting Purgil trails, and storytellers in Coruscant's underways recite ballads of whale songs echoing through the void. Even the bureaucracy of the New Republic allocates resources for Purgil research, ensuring their sanctuaries remain untouched by mining or military ambitions. The Purgil's legend endures, not only as a symbol of hyperspace's untamed beauty, but as a living reminder that the galaxy's deepest mysteries swim beyond sight. Their story echoes the lesson of the Zillo beast. Sometimes, the greatest power lies not in conquest, but in communion. As with the Zillo, whose rampage taught the galaxy humility, the Purgil teach that wonder and respect can shape destinies more profoundly than any weapon or war. In the age of Ahsoka Tano and Sabine Wren, the Purgil's role grows ever more vital. Ahsoka's bond with these titans, forged in mutual respect and trust, opens new frontiers in the search for lost allies and long-lost worlds. The creature's ability to traverse galaxies offers hope to those who seek Ezra Bridger and Grand Admiral Thrawn, their fates entwined with the Purgil's cosmic migrations. The legend lives on in every hyperspace jump, every shimmering trail left in the void, and every whispered tale of ships vanishing only to reappear where the stars are strange and new. But the Purgil's story is just beginning, beyond known hyperspace. Ancient tides stir, promising new chapters in cosmic whale song, and reminding us that in a galaxy of wonders, the next legend may already be swimming just beyond the edge of sight. From trash-diving eyeballs to hyperspace whales, Star Wars beasts remind us that size does matter, especially when it's charging at you. These titans aren't just obstacles, they're nature's middle finger to arrogance, imperialism, and bad parking choices. So next time you jump to hyperspace, remember, the Purgil are watching. And if you're really unlucky, so is the Sarlacc. May the Force be with you, and your insurance provider.